The way to look at this sale of Manchester United and why it frustrates so many and why the mainstream should pick up on this instead of Ten Hag. And I will say that all this nonsense about Ten Hag this week that we outed as bullshit, absolute nonsense about the players aren't with Ten Hag. Fair play. I think it was Sam and Beth and reporting it earlier this week, and it was absolutely spot on, verified information that source was rubbish about players turning on Ten Hag. That's not what should be the headline. The headline should be what we're talking about here, because this is what's important to Manchester United and this is what's factual. United's been up for sale for nearly a year and the Glazers still haven't sold it. In a real life term, what the Glazers are doing to Manchester United is what somebody with the power of attorney does to a sick relative. They are not giving them the medicine. They are on their deathbed and they can be cured. And all they're doing is just giving them enough to survive, but they're not giving them the cure. And that's what the Glazers are doing to Manchester United. Man United are on their deathbed. We're not going to die, but we're very seriously ill. And all the Glazers are doing is just giving us enough food and enough medicine to maintain that illness. But the cure is there and they're going, no, we will do the cure, but we want to stay and be involved with these people even though we don't like them, or we will give you the cure, but we want ridiculous money for it. And that's the bottom line with Manchester United. And it amazes me that the mainstream cannot, one, jump on this, and two, understand this. We are owned by people who are, making our football club ill. And the cure is there and they won't provide it. And they still allow us to stay ill. And it's not acceptable. And it's very, very frustrating because the cure has been there for a very long time and they will not take it because of selfish reasons. And nobody can tell me I'm wrong about that. The Glazers, Richard Arnold, nobody can tell me I'm wrong about that. And nobody can tell you you're wrong about that. There is a cure for this football club, which is, and they will not take it, even though they'll get recompensed massively for it. Hi, Mark. Hope you're doing great today, says Adam. Thank you. I hope you're doing well as well. Good to be back. Hi, Mark. Sorry to go off topic, but the comments Danny Murphy made about you are a joke. Keep up the good work, says Daly. Danny who? Don't even talk about him. Like, who is he? Who is Danny Murphy? I mean, come on. We're on a different level to him. That's why he's doing it. He's a bloody nobody who goes on a radio show that, no one's really interested in. Let him gob off. I've played the game. I've played five-a-side, Danny. Well done. But look, let's get back to the reality. Who's going to win this race? There is a cure. Who is going to win this race? I sort of, I don't disagree with what was said on the show last night. I don't disagree with some of the comments in the chat, and I don't disagree with what some people are saying on social media. But there's two big things to say here, and there's two big options here. There's Sir Jim Radcliffe, and there is Qatar. The big problem that you've got is that neither of these two people want to lose. Like, Qatar will not want to lose to Sir Jim Radcliffe, even if he's in front. Sir Jim's been in front before, and Qatar comes in with a higher bid. And I think this is all just, as I just said, it's all game playing. Now, I have heard some nonsense that you need to be careful of. I don't listen to any of this, and I know it's factually incorrect. But unfortunately, a lot of you are on social media. I'm on social media, and you do see it. You see this complete and utter nonsense from chancers who think they've got inside information. I've heard people saying, we're sold to Qatar, they're just not allowed to reveal it. It's been like that for months. They're talking absolute arse. Absolute arse. I talk to people who are close to these deals. NDAs are in place, but there's absolutely no way a deal has been done with Sir Jim or Qatar weeks ago, days ago, months ago, and it's being kept quiet. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And you need to have a word with yourself if you're reading that shit on Twitter and believing it, because it's absolute shit and they're playing you for likes, follows, and whatever else. That is not the case. The Glazers have not made their decision because the Glazers are looking for what they want. They either want this ridiculous amount of money, 6 billion quid, or preferably for Joel and Avram, they actually want to stay. So who's going to win this race? Well, Sir Jim is back in the lead. There is no doubt about that. Sir Jim is back in the lead. By all accounts, he's changed his bid again. We spoke about this 2 weeks ago. Initially, he wanted to buy all of the club. Then he wanted to buy 70% of the club. Then he was buying 50% of the club. Now it's 25% of the club. And obviously we know 25% of the club is next to nothing and will make no difference in the short term. His plan has always been to buy part of the club and then in 2 years' time or 3 years' time buy the rest of the club. But my issue with that is that you're not clearing the debt. You haven't got the money to buy all of the club now, so we're waiting 3 years for you to raise the money to buy the club when somebody can buy the club and clear the debt tomorrow. Sorry, you are not the right bid. I don't care what his plan is. I don't care whether he's a good owner or a bad owner. I don't care whether he's from Manchester. I don't care whether he supports Manchester United. Those things don't matter to me. The bottom line is, you're not buying all of the club. I don't believe you'll buy all of the club in 3 years. And even if you do buy all of the club in 3 years, there's somebody who will buy the club in 3 minutes, all of it now. Why do I need to wait 3 years for you to buy all of the club? And what happens in that 3 years? Fucking nothing. We just fail again for 3 years. And then in 3 years, if he gets hold of all of the club, we start again. And it's another 3 years. And before you know it, it's 2030 and we're still shit. So I do not want that to happen. That's my opinion. I don't care whether I'm in the minority of 5% or the majority of 99%. It makes no difference to me. I do not want Sir Jim Radcliffe to buy the club. I think his aim is ridiculous. He's shooting arrows in a bloody hurricane, isn't he? He's just all over the place. He couldn't hit the target if he tried because he's changing his bid all the time and he's coming across as desperate. It's like the guy who wants to marry the girl and the girl doesn't want to marry them. And it's like, will you marry me? No. I'll give you £1 million. No. I'll give you £5 million. No. I'll give you £10 million. We don't have to sleep in the same house and we'll only be married for a year. No. I'll give you £50 million. We never have to talk apart from WhatsApp, but you just marry me legally. I'll think about it. You know, it's like, it's just like every offer is just more desperate and giving more power to the Glazers, which none of us want. And of course, the overarching thing is that the Glazers will stay. So Sir Jim's in front. There's no doubt about that. And I think Sir Jim's always been in front, but it doesn't necessarily mean he'll win. The truth of the matter is that Joel and Avram have always wanted to stay at Manchester United. They love bleeding this cash cow. They love making money off this football club. So that's what they do. And they want to stay. And the reason that people cannot get this around their head because it makes them feel scared is that if they wanted to sell to Qatar, they'd have sold to Qatar months ago and you would be feeling Qatari because we would have been Qatari owned for about 5 months. If they wanted to sell to Qatar, it would have been done. It's a piece of piss. They've got the money. They give them the money. They walk away. They've bought the whole club. It's easy for Qatar to buy Manchester United and it's easy for the Glazers to sell to Manchester United. So why haven't they done it after 8 months? And the bottom line is they haven't done it because they want to keep exploring Sir Jim, because Sir Jim allows them to stay. But Sir Jim's deal is so messed up, it's almost, you know, it's going to take bloody ages because he's got so many hoops to jump through. He's got to please the shareholders, he's got to please the remaining Glazers, he's got to please Joel and Avram so they stay. So, and he hasn't got the money to buy all the club. So Sir Jim's move is basically taking ages because it really shouldn't be happening. Technically, they'll find a way, but it shouldn't be happening. You know, I'm going to buy 25% with a long-term view to buy 100%. But from that 25%, 12.5% will go to shareholders and 12.5% I'll buy from the Glazers. But are the Glazers all staying, or is it just Joel and Avram? Because long term, I want to buy them out and the shareholders. And it, you know, straight away, I'm confusing myself, and that's the problem, and that's what's going on here. The Glazers, Joel and Avram, have always wanted to do a deal with Sir Jim because Sir Jim has always said, "I'll keep you at the club." So that they want to do that. They don't want to go. The Glazers would never be going if they had them. If it was 10 years ago, if they were still taking dividends out of this football club and it was still making money, they would still be here. They don't care about the debt. Their problem is they can't afford all the costs that are required, including to the infrastructure, the loss of earnings, the stadium. They can't afford it, so they need to bring money in. And if somebody gave the Glazers, £2 billion now, they wouldn't leave. So they don't want to sell. And Sir Jim gives them an opportunity not to sell. There's a